There we go. All right, for those of you who may be just joining us on YouTube, because apparently I wasn't smart enough to fire up YouTube when I fired everything else. For those of you just joining on YouTube and everybody else now, if you want to comment, just me solo this morning, although I will be having Derek LeBlanc will be joining me. Normal broadcast time today, 7 p.m. Central, will be joining me, and we will discuss Project Child Safe and everything he's involved with. Really looking forward to that. But today, just me, so if you have something that you want to discuss, if you have a comment about anything we're going to do, we'll just give me a comment and we'll get your comment up. We'll discuss it. But right now we're going to go off. This is a rather long one. Got off of Ammo Land. We're going to go ahead and go with this one, and here's the story.
Governor Newsom held a press conference Wednesday at which he signed almost 24 new gun control laws, all designed to make it harder and more expensive to buy or have a gun to defend yourself or your family in California. Two of those bills have gotten the most attention, Senate Bill 2 and Assembly Bill 28. Legal challenges to those two bills and others are already in motion. AB 28 imposes an 11% sin tax, as Newsom called it, on guns and ammo. However, choosing to own a gun...
Okay, I gotta start with this. A sin tax, right? A sin tax... There are sin taxes all over the place. First of all, on cigarettes, yes, the cigarettes are harmful. Cigarettes will, if used as intended, eventually kill you. I don't deny that. I'm also hopelessly hooked, have been since I was 16 years old. I've cut way back on what I smoke, but when used as intended, cigarettes do harm. When used as intended, firearms prevent harm. When used as intended, firearms promote freedom. There's no sin there. There's a constitutional protection there because the founding fathers recognized that the British government, just several years before the adoption of the Second Amendment and all the other amendments in the first 10, I want to say it was 13 years before, 1792, so would have been 18 years before, had tried to disarm the American public. At that point, we weren't citizens, we were British subjects. They tried to disarm their subjects. The founding fathers knew that. That's why the Second Amendment was included. They understood in 1776, if the individual did not have the right to keep and bear arms, we were subject to invasion by, well, at the point that the Second Amendment was adopted, we were subject to invasion by Britain, by France, by Spain. At that time was a power. We could have been invaded by anybody. So they decided the individual, had the right to keep and bear arms. Let's go ahead and continue with the story.
Is not a sin, and gun owners are not sinners. California Rifle and Pistol Association, CRPA, is working with our partners to file a lawsuit challenging this new tax on exercising your Second Amendment rights. SB 2 imposes new requirements that make it harder to get a permit to carry a firearm in public and creates dozens of new sensitive places where a permit is invalid. If SB 2 takes effect as scheduled on January 1st, it will be practically impossible for a permit holder to cross town without passing through a gun-free zone and committing a crime in the process if the law is not struck down before then. CRPA and its strategic partners didn't wait for Newsom to sign SB 2 before filing a lawsuit to strike it down. The minute Newsom signed the bill, California Rifle and Pistol Association's lawyers served the state with the lawsuit. Yesterday, CRPA filed a motion for a preliminary injunction to stop the law from taking effect. Now the state has until November 3rd to file its opposition to the injunction request. CRPA will then have until November 20th to reply to the opposition. A hearing is currently scheduled before U.S. District Court Judge Cormac Carney on December 4th. Judge Carney presided over CRPA's successful challenge to the safe handgun roster. In that case, Judge Carney granted the CRPA's motion to preliminarily enjoin the most troublesome requirements of the Unsafe Handgun Act, which crippled the decades-old law preventing Californians from accessing the latest and safest firearm technology. The laws that Newsom signed will not make us any safer. They are a vindictive and retaliatory response to the Supreme Court's historic Bruen decision from last year. The Supreme Court made it clear that governments cannot over-designate places as sensitive where lawful carry would be prohibited. But that is exactly what Newsom and the politicians in his pocket seek to do. They know that this bill will only affect lawful gun owners because they are the only ones who go through the process to obtain a concealed carry license. They know that criminals will not be stopped. Data from several states proves that Americans with concealed carry permits commit crimes at extraordinarily low rates, as the lawsuit explains.
All right. Also on this, they just brought up in the story that concealed carry permit holders commit crimes at exceedingly low rates, I believe was their exact words. Well, exceedingly low, that means, what that means, honestly, and I'm going back to research by Dr. John Lott for this, concealed carry permit holders commit crimes at a rate lower than sworn police officers. I talked to Dr. Lott about this. In the United States, this is not in foreign countries, but in the United States, concealed carry persons that are licensed to carry a firearm commit crimes at a rate so low, there's nothing below it. There is no other group of people that could be found in the United States that commit crimes at a lower percentage. Let's face it, folks, that's written by Chuck Michel, who is the attorney for CRPA. I spoke with Chuck briefly when we were at Gun Rights Policy Conference. Coming up on 2 weeks ago. It took me several days to get back. I'll get back into that in a second. But you expect this law and a lot of these California laws to go down. It's going to take a while. As you heard in the story, they have a certain amount of time to respond to the lawsuit. Then we have a certain amount of time to respond to their response, or CRPA does. And as I believe SAF is backing that lawsuit. There's the whole thing doesn't go to before the judge before December 4th, and then it's heard, and then he's got time to think about it and make up his decision. And let's face it, this is not they don't rule and just say we rule for the plaintiff, period. That plaintiff in that case would be us. It's usually a 17 or 18, sometimes up to 50-page, 75-page response in which they list out the reasons why. They can't do that in 10 minutes. And so I would expect for this, the first round, which is through the basic federal judge, this is not the Ninth Circuit or anything. I would expect the first ruling to come down in January. And then it will get appealed when they lose, and I'm fairly certain they will. This judge has been friendly to us before. And they will appeal. It has to get up before the Ninth Circuit. The Ninth Circuit has to schedule it, hear it. Maybe in January 2025, it'll get through the Ninth Circuit. Then it has to go, hopefully, to the Supreme Court. That all depends on whether the Supreme Court takes it, how the Ninth Circuit rules, and all that. Let me get to some comments here. We've got several, all of them coming from YouTube, so I'm glad I took the time to make sure that YouTube is connected. Warsaw Patriot, dude. I've tried e-cigs. I've tried vapes. They don't work for me. Yeah, I know, and it's been a goal of mine ever since I had my medical issues a couple of years ago. It's been a goal of mine to get rid of cigarettes. I'm getting there. When I drove truck, I smoked 2.5 to 3 packs a day. I'm way down. I'm under a pack a day. However, I'm not done yet. I'm trying. Just be patient with me. And I appreciate your support, Warsaw Patriot. Let me get this one up. Concealed carry holders don't commit crimes because they have to take a concealed carry course to know the laws before getting a permit. In California, that is certainly true. There's a lot of states where South Dakota is a great example. If you want just the basic South Dakota permit to get reciprocity with a lot of states, you go to the sheriff's office and you say, I want a permit. They have you fill out a form. Yep. They send the form off. About a week later, they call you back. You pay your $10 and you get your permit. There's no classes required. There's a lot of states like that. California, I know if you're going to carry, you have to carry a permit. There is a class required in that. I'm just going to say, while I appreciate, Warsaw Patriot, I appreciate the comment, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. Concealed carry permit holders don't commit crimes simply because they're generally law-abiding people. They went through the process of getting a permit so they could carry and protect themselves. They're not interested in taking down the 7-Eleven. If they were interested in taking down the 7-Eleven, they would not go and get a permit. They just tuck the gun into their pants, with or without holster, almost always without, and then go in and take down the 7-Eleven, and that's it. But they don't have a concealed carry permit. So, George, let me get this one up. George says, I want to live in a town with no cops and 100% CCL or constitutional carry. We've got a lot of small towns here in South Dakota are like that. I was having a conversation with a person that lives in Harrisburg, which is a town just south of Sioux Falls where I live. Having a conversation with them the other day. They do not have a local police department. Now let me come over here. I'm going to real quick because I had not anticipated talking about this. The population of Harrisburg, South Dakota, on the 2020 census was 6,732. That is certainly a small town. However, it's right on the southern border of Sioux Falls. It's only 5 minutes from the city limits of Sioux Falls to the city limits of Harrisburg. Sioux Falls city cops do not cover Harrisburg. They rely on the Lincoln County Sheriff to come through, and the sheriff's deputies for Lincoln County to come through and do policing there. So there's not a huge presence. South Dakota does have constitutional carry. And we need police because there are issues in Harrisburg right now with 100% ability in constitutional carry. You can carry anywhere you want without saying, go get the government. But there are young people, I'm going to say they're below 30. That's a young person to me at my stage of life. There are young people that are walking down, they're operating in a team, it's been witnessed. One of them walks down the street, one of them follows by in another car very slowly, and they're checking every car to see if the car is unlocked. And these two young people need to be locked up. There's their behavior needs to be changed. That's not cool. However, does it come to the point where the concealed carry permit holder should just come in and draw their firearm, make a citizen's arrest? I don't think that's good for us. I would rather there be a policeman there that could take care of it. Couple of feedback from that. Warsaw Patriot says, that's my point, Paul. And George Geller says, I'm going to check real estate prices in Harrisburg, South Dakota. There you go. There's a lot of, and that Harrisburg is just an example from my recent memory. There are a lot, and I'm guessing South Dakota isn't exclusive to this. There are a lot of small towns in constitutional carry states, and there are now 27 of them that the small towns, it's a look, if you want to have a police department, you've got to, at the very least, you've got to have one person that is the police chief. They've got to have a patrol car, and they've got to have some kind of a relationship with the county. I would say a bare minimum for an effective police force is probably 4 or 5 officers. You're looking at, let's be honest, absolute bottom living wage for a family in the United States at this time is about $50,000, and that you're not making much money at $50,000. You've got to be able that's $250,000 a year for 5 people. Patrol car is going to set you back initial purchase, I'm guessing $60,000-$70,000 after you take the car and you modify it for all the special things a police car needs. You can buy a used one, but it's incredibly expensive to have a police department in a small town. You divide that among a town of 4,000 people, 5,000 people, they're just not going to have the wherewithal to, it would be very expensive for a small town to do that. So let's go ahead and there's one more story I want to cover today, and I got this one off NRA ILA. Let's go ahead and play this one.
A New York judge recently ordered the state of New York to pay the NRA nearly $500,000 in legal fees following the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark decision in New York State Rifle and Amp Pistol Association, NYSRPA v. Bruen, 2022. The NRA regards the $447,000 award in the Nishoka v. Bruen case as a pivotal victory, a symbol that justice is definitively on our side, Michael Jean, NRA Director of the Office of Litigation Counsel, told Fox News Digital. This triumph in Bruen has fortified the Second Amendment in an unprecedented manner, and we continue our unrelenting fight to uphold our rights and challenge those who endeavor to infringe upon them. In Bruen, the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed that the right to bear arms does not stop at a person's front door. This ruling was the result of plaintiffs challenging New York's May-issued licensing regime. It is undisputed that petitioners Koch and Nash, two ordinary, law-abiding, adult citizens, are part of the people whom the Second Amendment protects. And no party disputes that handguns are weapons in common use today for self-defense. The court has little difficulty concluding also that the plain text of the Second Amendment protects Koch's and Nash's proposed course of conduct, carrying handguns publicly for self-defense, wrote Justice Clarence Thomas in the majority opinion. For a detailed breakdown, Stephen P. Hallbrook, who has argued Second Amendment cases at the highest level, penned a piece for America's First Freedom. Just over a year later, Bruen is having wide-ranging effects. Among the most notable are the striking down of May-issued licensing policies. However, anti-freedom states like New York are repeatedly enacting new restrictions in spite of the High Court's ruling. The NRA will continue to fight these unconstitutional responses to the Bruen decision, as well as other unconstitutional laws, on behalf of Americans who understand and embrace freedom. Gene made a point of extending gratitude to the devoted NRA members who funded the majority of the legal fees incurred in Bruin, noting that the payment ordered by the New York judge only scratches the surface of NRA's expenses.
All right. On this particular one, let me go ahead and move the instant feedback out of the way. On this particular story, look, $447,000 to the NRA, who was the financial backer in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. $447,000 sounds like a lot. It's not. To get that thing to the Supreme Court, I will bet you cost more than $2 million. To get it through the Supreme Court is a lot more than $2 million. So they got maybe a quarter to a sixth of their money back from the state of New York. It's great in that it takes a hit. New York State will take a hit. It doesn't repay the NRA. The additional money is just gone. The additional money from New York State Rifle and Pistol Association is just gone. It went to lawyers. It went to printing fees. It went to a lot of other to pay the staff. Whoops! That's my cat. A cat came in and knocked something down. That money is all just gone. So this is good news from the NRA. They get a little bit of their money back. Good news for the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, because I think in the part of that money goes to New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. They get some of their money back, but it's not enough. It doesn't cover it all. That's why, this is going to sound like a pitch, and I guess it is. You need to belong to the NRA besides the Second Amendment Foundation. Of course, you need to belong to the Second Amendment Foundation. You need to belong to places like New York State Rifle and Pistol Association if you can afford it. Even if you're not in New York, you need to be a member of CalGuns. Even if you're not in California, you need to be a member of New Jersey State Rifle and Pistol Association. There's several associations in New Jersey that are doing good work. You need to be a member there. You need to be a member of four places. Okay, number one, you need to be a member of the Second Amendment Foundation. 2, NRA. 3, I'm gonna say your local, whether it be Kansas or Oklahoma, Texas, Oregon, wherever. You need to be a member of your state organization. 4, you need to be a member of an organization in a state that is fighting for their rights and having a tough time of it. Places like New York, California, New Jersey, Maryland. The list goes on and on. Pick a state that's having a hard time and join their Second Amendment organization. The more of us that are members, and let's face it, when somebody from New York State Rifle and Pistol Association goes to see a legislator in New York, all they have to say is, we've got 1.5 million members. Does it matter that half of them, and it isn't, but does it matter that half of them may be out-of-state people? Not a bit. And half of the members of New York State Rifle and Pistol Association are not from out of state. But let's try and make it that way. Let's try and make it so the New Jersey Second Amendment Association, NJ2AS, has more than half of their members from outside the state. CCCDL, VCDL. These places need out-of-state people on their rolls. I like the C&T. Let me get this one up. When the government loses a case like that, they should have to pay all legal fees and restitution for any harm. I'm right there with you, C&T. Right now, we only get lawyers' fees. That's it. Not all the associated fees. I would love it if the government had to pay for all legal fees and restitution for harm, as C&T puts it. That would be awesome. For the rest of the time I got this morning, which is not much, I've got about 4 minutes, I want to tell you why there haven't been bullets lately and why now I'm set up. There may be a disruption again shortly, but we should be ready to go. When I was on my way back from the Gun Rights Policy Conference, I was nearly home. I was in Nebraska. I was about 34 miles north of North Platte. My plan was to drive through, to go through Norfolk, Nebraska. And I was carrying some books for John Anderson, who helped me out down there. So I was coming back and I get just north of North Platte, Nebraska. About, the turn was at 28 miles, and I'd made it about 5-6 miles beyond that. I hit a deer. The car has got about $7,000 worth of damage, certainly repairable. It will be repaired, but all of my equipment was in the car. All of my equipment was in the car. There were challenges with getting the equipment back home, getting the equipment set up with rental cars specifically. Then the Toyota RAV4 that we own, it barely, and I mean barely, had room to fit all of the equipment. It was Susan, my wife, packed that thing in such a perfect way, nothing else would fit. Well, they wanted to, when we go back, when we go to get a rental car to come home through the insurance company, by the way, unpaid boost here, USAA is our insurance provider. When it came time to get the car to come back, they wanted, the rental car company wanted to give us a Prius. Guess what? That don't work. Not even close to enough room. We eventually got a Dodge Durango that did have enough room, but getting everything, there was delays. We were on the road longer than we wanted to, and ended up here in time to get set up to do some of the weekend stuff. I'm still rebuilding, kind of, and there is my 30-minute warning going off. I'm still rebuilding the studio, kind of, but the plan was, I'm not going to pull it out because the thing weighs a ton, and it's right behind the green screen on my left over there, which, if you're looking at the screen, looks like right, but it's right over there. There is a brand new U-shaped desk that is designed for multiple computers, multiple monitors. It's a huge desk. In order to install that desk and go away from the card tables I've been using for my setup for the last couple years, I've been broadcasting with the computer I'm looking at and the camera I'm looking at set up on one desk. I've got a second computer and my sound mixer over there on another card table, a folding table. That's all got to come down, and this room has to be bare. The desk is that big, and it's going to take time to get that done. The plan is tomorrow afternoon to take everything out, or tomorrow to take everything out of here. I might even do it tonight after we start. So everything out of here into the living room, and then come in here, start building a desk, getting that whole thing set up, then bring everything in here and reset up all of the tech, including, and I'm really excited to announce this, a brand spanking new $3,500 Rockstar broadcast computer that is going to be that is going to replace Old Faithful that is right. Let me see if I can get my finger in the right area. Right, they just barely off to the right of the camera on top of the table. That thing Old Faithful has served me through 4 or 5 gun rights policy conferences, and it's a beautiful machine. It's getting long in the teeth. It's starting to get memory issues. We're going to go ahead and retire that. Brand new computer coming in, got to reinstall everything except Windows. Windows comes pre-installed on the one I bought. Broadcast software has to go in there. A lot of other things have to go in there. Lots of hours there besides just setting up the studio. So, wow. Let me get a couple of comments in here before I take off. This one, Facebook user, I do not have a name there. If only there was some device to deter deer from the roadway. I have a feeling that's Tom Walls. And Tom, when Tom heard about what happened, he sent me some of these little cones you put on the front of your car that are supposed to scare away deer. And yeah, they don't, but it was a great gift. And George Geller says, glad you're safe, Paul. And that's it. The airbag, I don't want to blow my own horn as a driver, but I'm going to blow my own horn as a driver. Come over a rise in the roadway, deer were right there. I hit the brakes, and I hit them quickly, and I hit them hard. We went from 65, I would guess, down to about 25 before I actually struck the deer. There were 2 deer on the roadway, one on the left of the car, one on the right of the car. I could not swerve. I jammed the brakes. The anti-lock brake system in the RAV4 did its job, got me slowed down very quickly, but I still struck the deer. Let's see here. George Geller says, glad you're safe, Paul. Thank you. He also says, deer kill more Americans than any other animal, including sharks, rattlesnakes, etc. I do not doubt that a bit, simply because of deer on the roadway and fatal car accidents. Let's see here. What else we got? All right. Yeah. Bingo. So, yeah, that is Tom out there. Hey, Tom. Guys, we are me solo, just me. We are 3 minutes and 14 seconds at this minute over time. Not that these are hard time limits. I am going to sign off for now. Do please come back and join me tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time. Derek LeBlanc is going to be joining me, and we're going to be talking about what he's doing to help children stay safe around firearms. That's it for now, everybody. Thanks for watching. And podcast listeners, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.